Hey, what's going on, man? It's your girl, Tampa Mystic, and we are live on the industry's most wanted podcast.
Industry's most
Podcast.
wanted.
I heard we got the homie Psychosis checking in. You out of Chicago?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. The one. Oh,
Hey, big
yes, sir.
shout out to Chi-Town, man. Appreciate you being here. You know what
No,
I'm
thank you.
saying?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure. We're currently live on multiple platforms. We're on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, and maybe Facebook. I don't know. We all over the place with it.
That's
But
what's
go
up.
ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, man. I go by Psychosis or SY for short. I'm an MC out of Chicago. Been doing this for a minute. Recently just dropped a new project called Pre-Approved,
Okay.
which I'm sure we'll dive into, but kind of tells the story of what I do in and outside of music. And I'm just happy to be here sharing with some new people. And hopefully, we can all link up.
Man, that's a big fact. Before we get into where you're at right now, I always like people to understand and respect your journey because, I'm pretty sure you had some struggles and obstacles along the
Man.
way. Um, Take us back to your childhood, though. What was it like growing up out there?
You got like, should I lay on the couch first? You want me?
Like a whole therapy session?
Yeah, man. I get comfortable if you really want to get deep.
Oh, I can rub your temples. Tell me all
Yeah,
about it.
you can tell me it's gonna be okay. Nah. So, Chicago, Chicago is exactly what people expect, and it's also nothing like what people expect at the exact same time.
Got you.
Because when you hear about gang violence, when you hear about drill music, when you hear about just the street edge that Chicago, I'm sorry, has always had. The other side of that is affluence, wealth, beauty, lakefront beaches.
Yeah.
So you got this weird dichotomy, if you will. You got this weird oxymoron that is Chicago, which kind of breeds to why it's so crazy because the people in the hood are literally usually right next to people who can't even spell the word hood.
Got you.
And it's like a dividing line. It's like an imaginary, space that we all kind of understand. Like, well, why isn't my life like that? Like, it's literally right over there. It
Yeah.
could be that simple, but it ain't that simple. So, um, coming up as a kid in that environment, you kind of caught between these two worlds, where it's like, yes, the streets and the gangs and all of that is right there, but also you got a chance to get up out of here. You could be, one of those people over there with the white picket fence and a nice lawn and dog and family if you can navigate through. And for me, that was a lot of like trying to keep my head down, you know what I'm saying, and sticking to music. But it didn't start with hip hop music. It actually started with gospel music, believe it or not.
Well, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Like I grew up like a lot of people who won't admit it. I grew up like in a church, right? Singing
Yeah.
in church, singing in choir. And it actually helped me as an artist later, as I really go back to harmonies and
Yeah.
melodies, um, and get back to your roots. A good example of this, since you from the A, is Killer Mike. Killer Mike's new
Oh,
album, Michael, when he's bringing back like, hey, this is where I started as a kid, and it's me as a grown ass man telling you my life today.
yes.
I look at that as like one of the best albums of the year, and I kind of see myself in that, reminisce of my childhood and just coming through two different worlds at one time and trying to figure my way out.
Absolutely. So you started with in the gospel lane. When did you
Yeah.
transition over onto the secular side?
That's a funny way you say. uh, Probably when I was able to time where I could play the music in my mama basement when she would whip my ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, because moms ain't going. Moms, like, you ain't playing no cussing in my house. Low key, she was listening to Ice Cube. See, moms were trying to play,
I
but
think all of us mom dukes were
yeah,
listening to Ice Cube, baby.
yeah. So nah, she put me on before hip hop. Like I said, she was actually listening to Nirvana a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, she was listening to Nirvana. So I just had the curiosity about me. I knew about gospel music in church. I hear Nirvana, and then I get blown away hearing some of these underground groups and mixtapes from Chicago, whether it was Twister, Psychodrama, Crucial Conflict. I'm like, they're from here?
Yeah.
Like these guys are from here?
Yeah.
While at the same time, getting the influence of the East Coast, the West Coast, and then eventually um, there was this kid by the name of Dwayne Carter, who was like a year older than me. And I'm like, there's no way this is a teenage kid, like rapping like this with these grown ass men. which is Lil Wayne, by the way.
Of course, yeah.
So for
For
those
those
who
who
didn't
may
know,
not know.
I
Yeah.
had to say it for those who I know don't know, like, who's the Wayne Carter?
Yeah.
Somebody go Google it. But
They're over here
that
like this right now.
yeah, like that was like all of those things kind of came together, and then at the same time seeing R&B and pop with mixed infused with hip hop from people like Missy Elliott and Timbaland. So I get all these worlds put together, and then Lauryn Hill put the bow on the top for me. You know what I mean? Of like, this is how you can do all of this. How you can be everything in one.
Yes.
Sing, rap, soul, street, whatever you're trying to do, hip hop. You can do it, and these are all the different influences that you can use. So that's it happened to me, as a teenager. Early teenagers, I would say.
Got you. Absolutely. And I think it's important. You want to dive into different aspects of the business, and this is no shade to some people who only take the artist route and only take one genre.
Right,
That's cool. But it's
right.
like if you aspire to be bigger than that and you want to be like, a household name, you want to be known around the world, you're going to have to tap into potentially multiple genres of music. Like you said, you started out in gospel and you came over to hip hop. It sounds like there may have been a little bit of alternative fusion in
Man,
there
it's all kind
somewhere.
of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
all kind of stuff.
respect that, absolutely, because it's like at the end of the day, from the consumer standpoint, whether they know it or understand it or not, they wanna hear different sounds from their
Yes.
favorite artist.
Yeah. And I
They don't want it to sound the same all the time.
and I think it's best when it's like organic, like not when artists are reaching to sound different or they're trying to wave ride something they're not used to, you can kind of tell. But
Yes.
when it comes from an organic place, like, oh, what was that? You know what I mean? This past weekend in Chicago is Lollapalooza, and I was here yesterday. Actually, it was raining here last night too. I'm here yesterday with my son Avery. Shout out to Avery. He might be watching right now. He's 7 years old, and we were
Aw.
watching. We're watching Lollapalooza live, and there's a indie rock/rock band called Backseat Lovers, right? And I had never heard of them, but I'm just watching the way they're pouring their soul into this music. Like they got shirts off, shoes off. It's raining. It's
They're grounded.
yeah, it's 200,000 people outside of Chicago singing every word, and I'm going. These guys are amazing artists, and he's like, "What are you watching? Is that?" I'm like, "Well, look at them. Like, it doesn't matter who they are. I try to learn from them. I go to a lot of music festivals and watch what people react to. You
Yes.
know, and it's sometimes it's hip hop, sometimes it's EDM. It's like I don't even listen to EDM, but what is it about this that
Right.
makes them react to it? And
Man.
that's how you learn. That's how you grow.
That is amazing and great, great advice. I'm glad you said that because we have to study it as a whole.
Yeah,
Even though it might be a different sound, a different genre of music, at the end of the day, it's still the music business, it's
yeah,
still the music industry. And getting out there and studying other genres, you may pick up some dope ideas that you could bring over into what you got going on.
absolutely.
Let
Like
me
if
ask.
you watch people like Drake, that's what he does, right? He
No,
he
absolutely.
he jumps into, but he does it more organic and natural way because I do believe he listens to all of these music, all these artists.
Right.
He'll jump on one song from Memphis, be on another song with a Canadian accent, be on a reggaeton song later that evening. You know what I'm saying? Like, and all of those records are going to different markets and different audiences. And you might only know him for what's on his album, but his fans all over the world keep growing because he's working with Central C and and Bad Bunny, at the same time.
Right, I think Drake is one of them artists that everybody likes, men,
Yeah,
women, kids, adults or whatever, but like you said, it's because he's tapping into so many different lanes. He's not, necessarily doing that full time, but that's something that he's tapping into, and that's what people love about him.
absolutely.
Um, Let me ask you this though, like,
Sure.
within the hip hop industry, we'll talk about hip hop. Do you think a lot of these artists overdo it with, because you mentioned you went and you were watching a show where they had their shirts off and their shoes off and they were just themselves, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Do you think that some of these hip hop artists slightly overdo it with trying to get that attention?
No. Here's why. I used to blame the artist, but the artist has very little to do with what people actually hear and see.
Yeah.
I think that the artists are trying the best they can to get the attention of the company that hires them to make the music. And I think it's a very murky, thin line because of course the artists have responsibility, right, for what they do, what they say, how they act, how they look. But at the same time, use Chicago for a perfect example. Chicago is full. I mean, full of unlimited, amazing artists in every genre,
Yeah.
whether it's blues, rock, hip hop. Doesn't pick a genre. We got amazing artists here, but the ones who get the most attention, and also the ones who get the money and the record deals, are the drill artists. You know,
Yes.
you get this one-sided, lopsided thing, while at the same time you got, a Lil Durk or G Herbo, which is great. You don't hear anything about Saba or or the other dozen other hip hop artists that would be the balance, the other side, same age, something to say, different kind of music,
Yes.
super talented, but you won't hear about it. And I blame that on the industry as a whole
Yeah.
of not investing in creativity, not investing in originality enough, and investing, into algorithmic ways of charting whether somebody would be successful or not. And I think it's starting to backfire. I mean, it's been backfiring, but I think
Yeah.
right now, especially this year, you've been following charts and how long it took to get a number one hip hop song, a number one hip hop album.
Right.
When hip hop had been dominating, I think it's backfiring that there's not enough originality and it's too much. Well, this guy sounds just like that guy. And
Right.
I don't blame the artists for that. I think the artists are going to chase what all of the talking heads tell them to do to get on, and it
Yeah.
works. But it
Yes.
doesn't make good music. So that's the problem.
Absolutely. No, that was a great answer, and I agree with that. I actually had the opportunity probably about a month ago. I got to sit down with Fireman, which is one of the dopest producers out of Chicago. He's one of
Yeah,
the originators of the drill sound.
yeah.
He was at my studio, and I picked his brain a lot, and we talked about a lot of Chicago stuff. And one of the questions that I had asked him was about the start of drill music, because I've always heard it started in Chicago, and I had him clear that up and break it down, and
Oh
he
yeah,
did a phenomenal job. Like Chicago really put that on the map.
absolutely. And it not only was it put on the map here, it wasn't like right now. And no disrespect to any drill artists anywhere, but
Yeah.
right now, drill in itself is more commercialized.
Yes.
Like you got you got drill songs like New York drill, for example, where it's a drill song over like an 80s sample,
Yeah.
and everybody in the video is dancing to it and hitting 30, right? Chicago drill was much more like very like raw, rugged, and it wasn't meant to be commercialized. It
Right.
wasn't meant to be mainstream, which is why it was so impressive of how big it got.
Yes.
There was never any intention of any of these songs getting on the radio. It was like, we're gonna go directly to YouTube, Instagram, or however we can make this disc record towards this crew, this block, this
Yeah.
gang, whatever. And the industry kind of swooped, and then going back to what we were just saying, commercialized it. But Chicago drill is much different than drill anywhere else. It's not the same as what you hear UK or New York, and that's again no disrespect to that, but it might as well be a different subgenre because what it represents here is very truly, honestly, life and death. Like this is not just some stuff you say for clout in Chicago.
Right.
This ain't just a marketing plan. You know what I'm saying? This is, oh, he said that, and then next thing you know, somebody's missing or somebody's hurt. So it's never a thing that I think Chicago as a whole wanted to be glamorized.
Right.
And that's including the drill rappers from
Yeah.
Chicago. The original drill rappers from Chicago, that wasn't what they were trying to do. They didn't want that to be, that was kind of like a if you know, you know type thing. And then it just became another way to, I think, manipulate the culture.
Yes.
Fortunately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have you been tapping outside of your market as far as like, traveling or moving around to other cities to tap into, other places besides Chicago with your music?
Yeah, of course. Right now, I got the love and support of a couple of different DJ networks that are all over the U.S. and international as well, who are helping spin my records from Phoenix to New York City. But additionally, due to some of my previous work in sync licensing, which is getting music and television and film, I've
Yes.
been able to partner with social media influencers, with independent filmmakers, with big filmmakers in some cases, and get songs on soundtracks or as intros to whether it's a YouTube show or IG channel. So I've been luckily able to get in places and rooms I ain't been in yet,
It's
all over the world.
beautiful.
Yeah, and Europe is actually one of my biggest supporters. You know, places like Germany, Russia, Switzerland, UK. Like I have a large fan base in those places as I work with people who are from there, producers that are from there, or influencers from there.
Absolutely, and congratulations on that
Thank you.
because everything that you're doing is what I think any artist that's serious about their craft aspires to do. A lot of them don't know or understand what sync licensing is, and and
Yeah,
I'll try to touch on it with them and push them in the right direction of where they can figure this information out. Of course, YouTube University is always a good place.
absolutely.
For any young aspiring artists out there who are looking to get into maybe having their music in film or commercials, any tips or gems that you could drop to them?
Yeah, man. I spent the better part of the pandemic on Clubhouse, meeting networks of people who were working in this kind of behind the scenes industry that I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a whole, like, literally a separate part of the music industry that in some cases I've talked to record executives that didn't know anything about it, or it wasn't their
Right.
focus. Like, was kind of like shocking to me. Like, wait a minute, you guys are part of this billion-dollar company and y'all don't use this as a marketing plan for your
Right.
artists. Like, why would you not do that? And they were looking at
Right.
me like, what? So anyway, what I would suggest is anybody watching, start with something called Control Camp, CTRLcamp.com. A good friend of mine, Eric Campbell, put together this free kind of resource guide, library, step by step, like what is sync licensing? How does it work? How do you get into it? What ways should you make music? And he also has his own sync agency, which is Sus3, where he'll pitch your songs for you,
Okay.
as a partnership, where normally, they take a percentage, maybe it's 20%, 40%, 50%. In exchange for that, they pitch it. You get, um, let me back up. To sync license your music means you get a paid licensing fee up front, and
Okay.
then you also get royalties every quarter. In
Okay.
in addition to your song being a part of the soundtrack or whatever it is, but I would start with Control Camp because that's free resources, and then I would just be thinking about watching your favorite films. Oh, hey, there it is. Watching some of your favorite films, movies, TV shows, and just listening to what type of music are they using in these shows. What type of production, what type of sound, what genres are they using, and seeing if that's something that you can make some of your favorite shows, favorite TV networks. That's Eric right there.
Hey,
So what
Eric.
up, E? He
We
go, he
came to
go, he
visit
go,
you,
ga-
bro.
he go gas when he see this. He was like, "What? This is crazy."
I
But
wanted to bring it up so everybody can see it. Thank you
yeah,
for that
yeah, yeah,
information. But yeah, keep going because we're interested.
yeah. So Eric, and there's another artist by the name of Daraj, at Daraj, Deraj. He and Eric started Control Camp together, and I was
Okay.
I was with them in Clubhouse just for almost a year plus, just soaking up game. And we would get music industry execs, but more importantly, we would get people in the film industry, because sync is film, it's not music. It's not the
Right.
same as trying to break into radio. It's
Correct.
actually a lot easier because you don't need a buzz, you don't need a budget, you don't need all of the stuff that as an artist, you got to look famous already for anybody
Yeah.
to really rock with you, which is part of the problem, right? We all got to look famous and look rich.
Right.
In sync, you don't have to do any of that. You just have to have the music that fits the scene.
Right. Absolutely. And it's
So
got to
that's,
be quality, mixed
yes,
and mastered
quality mix and
artist.
master and all that. And you just need like the clean version. You need
Yeah.
the instrumental. And once you learn, like I said, when you go to Control Camp, he'll break down like, here's some themes in the music, here's some ways to look at it, BPM. Once you realize, like, oh, okay, then just do what you would normally do inside of those parameters, and you got songs ready for sync, which is probably half of my album is songs that were written for sync, but also could be on my album, or vice versa.
Okay, that was actually going to be my next question. If you actually had created specific songs, like theme type songs,
Yeah.
knowing that you were going to pitch it to
Yes.
commercials and film.
Yeah. So if you listen to the album pre-approved, um, if you look at it, every song that's clean already, that was made with sync in mind.
Got
There's
you.
no, and that's most of the album. That's most of my music actually.
Yeah.
But if it's clean already and there's no profanity, chances are I made sure. And I don't curse a lot in my music anyway. Sometimes I
Yeah.
do, but those are songs, and from the intro, which is blowing bands, it comes on very cinematic and the singing and it builds up and it drops and it builds. That's Sync. Win Again is another record where Sync is in mind because it's about winning, and you can see that behind sports. You can see that in the fight scene. Shout out to Alabama, by the way. You can see that. You can see that in the fight scene. You can see that in the action scene. You can see that in any of these different things that's about winning. So a lot of music that I make is kind of ambidextrous, if you will,
Yeah.
of things I could use one way or another.
Man, makes sense. And you're really dropping a lot of good gems. And I hope the artists that either see this now or later take heed to that because, a lot of them are just lost. They have
Yeah.
the good music and they have the drive. They just don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to start. So, and like you said, making certain songs in mind, already thinking, okay, this is something that I'm going to pitch. I think this would do good in film.
Yeah.
So that's really dope. Let's talk more about the album Pre-Approved. It just came out about a month ago, right?
Yeah, July 7th. It was
Yeah, so exactly a month ago.
yes, 7/7, my seventh studio album, and it was about four weeks ago exactly. So I'm really excited about the album. I hope people get to check it out. It's 17 tracks.
Okay.
It's only about 32 minutes of music. And again, with Sync in mind, when you get in stuff placed for film, you don't need to make 3-4 minute songs. You're kind of making 2.5. Same thing for radio, but
Yeah.
it's just a different way of looking at it. So 17 songs, and 5 of them are skits, and those skits are me having this kind of conversation with a loan officer.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
outside of music, I'm also a realtor in 2 states. I'm a realtor in Illinois and Indiana.
Oh,
So I help people buy, sell houses. I also help people invest and flip property.
got you. Do you do
So
commercial as well?
yeah. So residential, commercial, investment, all of that. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So it's 5 little quick nuggets about like what the questions people always ask me, like, yeah, bro, I want to get into that. Where should I start? And those 5 skits are me kind of talking about that.
That's dope. I love how you incorporated the other portion of your life
Yeah,
into this portion of your life into the music
yeah,
because it's going to be some people may get it, some may not, you know what I'm saying? But it's
right.
also at the same time, some people may find it a little humorous if they're in the real estate side.
Oh, that's gonna be hilarious if you
Yeah.
do real estate at all, or if you're just aspiring. What I wanted to do, well, one is like they're not 2 different lives to me. At this point, it's both. Like I'm doing both. I'm telling the story of both, and actually, I think doing both makes me more dope in both. You know what I
Of
mean? Like
course.
as an artist, ain't no way you can give me a goofy contract and I
Yeah.
not know what it means now because I look at contracts every day.
Every day.
As a
Absolutely.
as a realtor, I can talk to anybody because I speak this language, whether it's music,
Yeah.
freestyle. I can talk to anybody and I can speak their language. So it helps me in both, and it
Right.
helps educate, what I mean, others who want to do it. And so the music itself is not necessarily about real estate, other than the one song about a block back.
Yeah.
But the theme of it, which is going to be a 3-part series, it's going to be pre-approved, and then I'm going to do highest and best, and then closing day, and it's going to progressively,
That's
drop more and more.
dope.
Yeah,
I
drop
like
more and more.
that.
Yeah. I'm gonna progressively open up this Pandora's box and see where it goes. But I really love it. It's if you're a fan of good music, everything I was saying earlier about being influenced from all over is
Yeah.
what this project is for me. It's a mix of hardcore lyricism and hip hop, and then trap, and then R&B,
Yeah.
and then Chicago house. Like it's a mix of everything that I listen to, believe in, and feel like I can do in this one tape. And I think it's kind of narrowed down into a focus that hopefully you can turn it on and you can catch what I'm putting down. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I know you said earlier on that you made some of the songs keeping in mind that they may go to film, sync licensing.
Yes.
All the songs that are on the album, did you make them specifically for the album?
No, actually, this is the first time. So when you're a signed artist, right? It's not uncommon to hear signed artists say, "Hey, I made 300 songs,"
Yeah.
and then they pick 12 for an album, which
Right.
I always used to think was crazy. Like, what? Like, who has time, money, and energy? But if that's all you do, then that's all you do.
Right.
This was one of the first times where I made probably like 70 different songs.
Wow,
Some
okay.
were for sync and some were just songs I was making. And then I narrowed it down to these 12 songs and then 5 skits that make this album. Because whether I was making a song for sync or not, I'm still gonna make that song be very me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't believe in just commercializing it for the sake of, oh, it can get in TV. Because that's no different than chasing radio, which
Yeah.
if it gets on radio, dope. But I don't believe in just like let's try to think of a way to go viral because that's how you make garbage music. Um,
Absolutely, and radios it's hard and it's very expensive.
yes,
You have to
yes, it
have a
is.
huge, huge budget to be able
That's
to
true.
tap into radio. People don't
Yeah.
understand
Yeah,
that.
you
It's
gotta
not
get
free.
over. You gotta get over 200K to play. You know, and it's tough. You know, what I mean, for
Yeah.
most independent artists. But most of the songs were just like this is gonna help tell the story. Probably the first song on this album that I made that was specifically for sync was "I Pull Up," and that ends up being like a triumph story because I made that song for the new Fresh Prince spinoff Bel Air. I don't know if you've
Okay.
seen it, right? But Bel Air is a really dope
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were looking for a song for the show, and I watched the show, so I was like, hell yeah, it's gonna be dope. And like literally the next day, I'm with one of my producers. Shout out to Ball on the Beat, and he's playing me tracks, and he plays me a Fresh Prince of Bel Air theme song sample that he made.
Wow, look at
He
that.
had made this years ago. And I'm like, look at God.
Look
You
at
know, like,
God.
yo, let's go, let's use that. And he just, if you remember the I pull up to the house around 7 or 8, he just sampled the I pull up and he had this crazy drop. And I was like, yo. So I did the record, my man's Isaiah Jones singing the hook. And then we was just like, let's just make it. Like whatever happens, happens. Like instead
Yeah.
of making it about the show, let's just make the song and whatever happens, happens. It didn't end up making it on the show, but what did happen is Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff cleared the sample, which allowed it to be on the album, which because they apparently liked it as well. So
Wow, that's
technically, I'm
major.
co-writers with Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff. I get to say that, so it's pretty
Bro,
cool.
that's major. Like
Yeah,
you know what? When you do good in this world, God's gonna keep dropping them
man,
blessings on you. And it sounds like, you've been receiving them, your whole entire life.
man. Yeah, I mean, we fought a lot. You know, this part of the story, I don't want it to just look like a highlight reel because it ain't all simple, it ain't all
Of
easy,
course.
it ain't all triumph. It is a lot of heartache, pain, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of rejection. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm 39 years old. I feel like my music has been good since I was 19.
Yeah.
That's 20 years of do you still believe in yourself?
Yeah.
When the industry itself is maybe not rocking with what you're doing. Do you have it in you to say that out loud and not try to chase being 19? Can you be you and have 19-year-olds listen to your music, which probably 40% of my fans are 19 to 21, which is dope. So, this part of my life is definitely feeling like, we get in some of the return is coming, which is another reason why it's called pre-approved, because part of it is about that real estate side, but the other part is, bro, I've been doing this for so long that if you've heard of me at all, my name should already be good to you. You
Yes.
should already know that this music is worth. If you hear me talk, you should already know that this music is gonna be dope. So that's the reason why I named it pre-approved.
Absolutely. Let's dive into your name. So it's Psychosis. Has it been
Yes,
that since day one as an artist?
since day one, moment one, it has never changed.
Okay. Okay.
I picked that name when I was 12 years old.
Let's talk
Um,
about it.
yeah, so it's a long story, but I try to keep it short. I had two older cousins in Chicago who were very dope MCs at the time in the underground scene in Chicago, and they were both educating me not only about Chicago hip hop, but they would put me on to people like EPMD and KRS-One, and like
Yeah.
just educated me as a young kid. And I was like, I wanted to be dope right away. So I was like, what's the shortcut? Like, come on, like, give me the shortcut. They like, ain't no shortcut to being a good. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, come on, tell me the secret. And so my older cousin, he's like, shout out to Skeet. He says, all right, if you want to be good, read the dictionary. And I'm like, come on, bro. Like, stop playing with me. He's like, nah, seriously. He literally pulls out a dictionary, like, look, here's mine. And he got it all marked up and scribbled up. And I was like, he for real. Okay. So I'm gonna read the dictionary. So I'm on like 4 days into dictionary, I can't spell or pronounce half the words. I'm 12, remember, I'm 12.
Yeah.
And I come across finally into the P's. So I'm 3/4 through the dictionary. And I come across psychosis, which is spelled PH, but not with an S. But I changed the spelling because it looks cooler when you tag it. That's the
Yeah.
reason. It's also easier to write. But anyway, I'm reading it, and it really captivated me because, of course, I heard of the word psycho and some of these other
Yeah.
things. But the definition said a person who is sort of at the point where they're losing touch with reality and they can no longer tell the difference between what's real and what's not. They have fixed false beliefs, but they're the only one who doesn't know it, basically, is
Mm.
what's happening. So if somebody tells you a demon told me to go grab those lighters and set the house on fire, can you tell them a demon really did?
Right. They believe it.
In their head, that's what really happened.
Right.
It was interesting to me because psychosis is like you on the edge. You starting to be somewhere between where everybody gets you and nobody gets you, and you understand and you don't understand. And that's where I really felt like I was at that time of my life. I was 12. My dad was in prison. You going through puberty. You trying to figure shit out. You know what I'm saying? Like you trying to dodge gangs. Like everything is just wild when you're 12, 13 years old. And I was
Right.
like, this is. And then when I'm talking about music, which really brings me back to the point, I'm talking about music and I'm telling people stuff like, you know what? I think Lil Wayne is the best hot boy. And people are like, what? Or I'm telling people stuff like, I really prefer to listen to Big Pun over Notorious Big. And people are like, what? Like I just have these unpopular opinions and people call me crazy for them. So that's why I picked Psychosis and it's stuck ever since.
I love it. I love the fact that it's literally been with you since, like you said, day one,
Day one.
second one.
Yeah.
Shout out to you. You said it was your cousin who told
Yeah,
you
Big
this
Skeet, man.
dictionary?
Big Skeet dog, man. Shout out to the west side of Chicago. What's good, baby? I know he was.
Facts. He really put you on game because I
Yes, he
think
did.
as being a true lyricist, you got to have a wide vocabulary,
You
right?
do. You do.
know, and not only does it have to be a word that, you've heard of, but you got to know the actual definition for it to make sense
Yeah.
in your lyrics. And it sounds like you really not only just went through the words, but you were reading the definitions because that's how you came up with your name.
Yeah, and it helped me. I mean, I'm not saying everybody should do that, but if you want
Right.
to, it helped me in more ways than one because everything I've ever done as an adult, I got paid to speak to people.
Mm.
I was teaching, I was mentoring, I was creating programs, I was running services, and now I'm a realtor. All of those occupations require communication.
Yes.
And as an MC, as a lyricist, as an artist, performing on stage, everything I've ever done, I've got paid to talk to people.
Nice.
Now, it wasn't all, none of it got me rich to this point.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing that I could think is really dope, is like I go to work and all I have to do is think of the right things to say.
Yeah.
That's a lot easier than most people's lives,
Yes.
profession. Not that it was always easy, but if you think of it that way, that's the way it's helped me to this day. I still get paid to talk to people, whether it's on stage or whether it's about a contract for a property or whether it's through a song that you're listening to and you download yourself.
Man, I love it. You have an amazing journey. Are you going to write a book?
Man, listen, the book wrote me. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? Like, it's a matter of time. I gotta physically put it down and publish it. In the meantime, the universe is directing me to put out this music and these short stories, these audiobooks, if you will.
Okay.
Until I get to the point where I will actually write a book. Maybe a script is even better. I need to write some films myself.
There you go. I was just going to ask you, is film an interest? You in my head tonight.
Yeah.
Because a lot of artists, oftentimes when they are a writer, they do dive into film. So that's definitely something that interests you?
Yeah, I think I would write an amazingly funny comedy.
Yeah.
I think I would write a really dope sci-fi movie. I think one of the most recent movies I watched was They Clone Tyrone. And me and one of my guys, we on the phone the whole time, like, bro, they literally stealing our ideas. Or if I watch Atlanta, speaking of Atlanta, every single episode of Atlanta, me and my guys on the phone, like, bro, it's hilarious to us because this is exactly what we would do if we had our own TV show. So
yeah.
if I ever get into that world, yeah, I think it'll be dope, and I think I'll surprise a lot of people.
That'll be dope. Maybe you could, come out with like a YouTube series first just to test it out to see how
Yeah,
you
man.
actually really like it, which I'm sure
Yes.
you're going to love it, but
Yeah.
that could be a starting point for you. So you do real estate, you do music,
Yep.
film is obviously a passion and interest for you. Is there other business ventures that you're, aiming to tap into or already tapping into?
Um, well, I talked about, a lot of work I did with the youth. I used to be a mentor slash teacher inside of the Cook County Jail in Chicago,
Okay.
which I was in maximum security there every day. Um, and that's actually how I got into real estate because the guys I was working with, they wanted to learn about self-employed industries because they knew they would more than likely come home with felonies, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
they knew what one, I don't have the work experience, I don't have the education, but also I might be barred from certain films because certain areas because the jail is set up to make you plead guilty even if you're not guilty.
Yes.
So a lot of them, instead of sitting there for 4 years before they go to trial, look, I'm just gonna cop out and go home. So
Yes.
I'm going home with a felony. I need to figure out what I'm gonna do after I do that. And investing is another thing I'm really, really trying to educate myself more on in general,
Mhm.
but also build more financial literacy. You know what I'm saying? Especially for young black men, I think we need that. We need that financial literacy. We need that bridge of like, okay, you need health insurance, life insurance. If you can't get a 401k, you get a pension. You can't get that, then you need a Roth IRA. Then you need a retirement IRA. Like I really want to make it one of those things that's easily accessible and also that is people that are um, easy to talk to
Yes.
educate, and people like them to educate.
Yes.
I think places like Earn Your Leisure, for example, are doing a great job of making young people feel like they can understand it, or different people like Trap, making people feel like they can understand investments. And I just think we need that on a bigger scale. So that's my next venture, somewhere before or after the book, movie, TV show. I'll figure it out, bro. I need a
Work-life
clone.
balance.
Somebody clone Psychosis for me, and then we can do all of that at once. That's how we can figure that out.
That's dope though. It's I love the fact that you were mentoring because a lot of these men do have a second chance to get out, but like you said, they're like they know as a convicted felon that most workplaces are not going to hire them. So it's good that they're looking to do something as an entrepreneur, and you were there. So
Yeah,
you're like you're basically changing people's lives, man. I love it.
man. To be honest with you, they changed mine. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I'm fortunate for the time I was able to spend with them. But besides the teaching part, also helped start a recording studio there. So
Mm.
I was there.
Oh,
It was like I was on my spook by the door act. Like I was really in there trying to get all of the ways they could eat and grow, whether it was physically or mentally, in that space. Because in the recording studio, we're teaching them how to record and produce themselves.
yes.
So they would leave there with a tangible skill. Like, here's another tangible skill. Now, these people don't think it's one, but you can leave it tomorrow, buy, $500 worth of equipment, and you can start your own recording studio
100%.
until you can build yourself up. And now you know how to do it.
That's
And
right.
then in addition to that, I was teaching them the sync license and stuff as well. The publishing, the copyright. Here's register yourself. You can do that while you're incarcerated. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You register yourself, ASCAP or BMI. You can send them a letter in the mail, or you can go on a computer. Now most jails and prisons got tablets. It costs about $50. Do it. You know what I mean? Because if you're gonna make music, and if it does get on radio, if it does get on TV, that's how you're gonna get paid. So
Yes.
I did as much as I could while I was there, and at the same time, they returned it by pointing me in this direction of real estate. So salute
That's
to them.
beautiful.
Shout out Division 9.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, we're about to get into one of your records that I have here loaded up. Let me
Okay.
get it popping here real quick. So the name of the record is called Pay Me Back.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about that. What does this record in particular mean to you?
This is the Freaky Uncle record. Nah, this
What's up, Let me see you.
yeah,
Okay.
man. This is when you get the fedora, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get the gold chain, you pull the V-neck down to about right here, you know what I'm saying? You ain't old enough to be old, but you too old to be young. You right in
Right.
the middle. This is your two-step bop. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Unk vibes
hey,
for real.
yeah, it's Unk OG vibes. See what it is. As I was saying earlier, you know, I have a lot of influences. One of them was Chicago house music. And for some reason, you never hear Chicago rappers talk about this. It's kind of funny to me because every rapper from Chicago and singer and anything else listened to a lot of house music. It was literally no way to escape it.
Yeah.
Every party we had, every get together we had, it was either old school, deep Chicago house with the, you know, the stuff your auntie or uncle would have been playing, or it was the ghetto house, you know what I'm saying, which is you was in the basement with the lights off, freaking behind a girl. Like it's no way to escape it. But very few artists incorporated it into their music. So I wanted to, because house music, if you ever come to Chicago, ever come to a house party, literally a house party, not a house party, but a house party, this is some of the most feel-good dance music you can ever have.
Yeah.
And I wanted to incorporate it with hip-hop and make it a record that anybody anywhere could play. You know,
Amazing.
that's what it means to me.
Who produced it?
Shout out to Wabi the Prophet out of LA and Prima, who helped put this together for me. They also are in the sync space. You know what I mean? So they also, besides making records like this one, they also are people that you can you know, send your music to. They have a site and a network called the Sync Collective. So it's another spot you can check out. And they'll help you get your stuff in TV and film. But we collaborated on this joint, and as soon as I put it down, I told YB, I was like, listen, bro, I know you don't understand because you ain't from Chicago, but watch what's gonna happen when this come out. And so far, so good. It's been getting shared all over the world so far. So I'm excited about it.
That is amazing. Well, again, congratulations on everything. It sounds like
Thank you.
all the stars are aligning for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The universe understands the
Come
assignment
on,
when it
work in
comes
my
to
favor, universe.
yeah,
It's no time.
yeah, absolutely. Before we get into the record, though, anybody that maybe chimed in, you know, whether it's for YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, how can they follow you on your social platforms?
Yeah, so everything is at Psychosis. That's SYCOSIS. The only thing that's not at Psychosis is my TikTok,
Okay,
and that's rap and real estate. Everything
okay.
else is like, because that's literally all my TikTok is. It's either me posting stuff that's happening when I'm doing music, or it's me posting transactions and stuff like that, and trying to educate and show people that life, you know, what it's about. So Psychosis is all the socials, or you can go to my website, psychosismusic.com, and see my latest releases, videos, shows, and get merch.
I love it. I love that you got your own website. I try to
Yes.
preach that to these artists. You
You
gotta
have
have
to.
it. Got to. That's your domain. Nobody can take that from you.
Yes. Except GoDaddy if you don't pay them people their money.
That's so funny you said that, because that's what I told him. I said the only way that it can go away is if you don't pay for that hosting, because you gotta pay for your hosting. You know
Listen,
what I'm saying?
that's the only bill in my entire life that's on auto pay. I
Nah,
don't
for
I
real.
don't care how good it gets, T-Mobile, y'all not getting this money till I call and tell you y'all can take it. But that website, GoDaddy, y'all can get it. Them
Nah,
them
for
at,
real.
them at Apple, because I need my music. But other than
Absolutely. And it's inexpensive. You know, it's like $10 a month for
yeah,
hosting for your website. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
it.
And in Slick, you can learn how to put it together yourself. It's, you
Now
know, it's
it's real. No, I mean if you got a Facebook or Instagram, or especially a TikTok, because TikTok, I think TikTok is putting way more effort than any other platform to make content. So you literally can plug and play and have a website up in 15 minutes. You know?
100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So before we get into this record, one more thing. I know you have a lot of people that are supporting you, loving on you.
yeah,
Who do you want to
yeah.
shout out to?
Man, I want to shout out to all of the fam. I want to shout out again YB and Prima. I want to shout out to the team, the homie Chris, Eldorado Jones, Burris. They all have music out right now. You can check out a Greenmo Passport Music. Check out Burris. I'll get back to you. They're also, you know, collaborators that I work with all the time. So want to shout them out. And then shout out to my auntie, because she actually listened to the song and she did dance. That's how I know I passed.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's dope.
Hey
I love
TT.
Hey. And shout out to the homie Potty Ali. He was the one that
Yeah.
connected us, you
Man.
know, so I definitely want to shout him
Absolutely,
out.
man. I'll be remiss. Potty Ali, appreciate you big time, bro. DJ Q11, who connected me with Potty Ali,
There you go.
and then shout out to you, man, for having me making this work regardless of the storm and everything that's happening out that way, man.
Yo, it was so ugly. I thought it was like a whole hurricane coming through here. But listen, again, the universe worked in our favor.
Yes, it did.
When you come out here to ATL, definitely would love to have you come to the studio. It's a personal invite. It would be my pleasure to have you come through.
I will be there ASAPly. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get into this record. It's called Pay Me Back. Give us that official introduction.
Man, so this is Psychosis. What I will say about this record, in my album in general, is that I pride myself on diversity. So no two songs sound alike. I said it to say, if you love this record, it's the only song on my album that sounds like it. If you hate this record, it's also the only song on my album that sounds like it. But I personally love it, so you should too, because you're goofy if you don't. It's a feel-good vibe that you can play from 8 to 80. And it's also about equity, because as men, sometimes we feel like we put in a lot of work that we don't get reciprocated, right? So this record is about reciprocity. Hey, shorty, you see me putting in this effort. Come on, pay me back.
Hey, all the ladies, take heed. Listen to this record.
Yeah, there it is.
So we about to get into it. You guys check it out.
Pay me back. Opposites attract, and that's a fact. We ain't gotta talk about this and that. No. Open up my heart, might get attached. So I'ma do you first, you pay me back. Opposites attract, and that's a fact. So I'ma do you first, you pay me back. You pay me back. You pay me back like that. Open up my heart, might get attached. Hard, I ain't giving no slurs. Hard your back, cause you like it like that. Work it hard, I ain't giving no slurs. Hard your back, cause you like it like that. Work it hard, I ain't giving no slurs. Hard your back, cause you like it like that. Work it hard, I ain't giving no slurs. Hard your back, cause you like it like that. Like that, like that, like that. Yeah, like that. Pay me back like I did you a favor. Go so deep I might dig you a crater. On the balcony I know your neighbors screaming Jesus, now I know your savior. She feel me, trying to go extra rounds so she kill me. Put the work in all night and she bill me. Red little lace and chase and she thrill me. Ice cold, put it down, pick it up, slow dice roll. How you want it, you can get it.
Get up and dance for us.
Still high and the price ain't
Hey,
low.
man, stop playing with me.
Opposites attract, and that's a fact. We ain't gotta talk about this and that. No. Open up,
It's a great
my
Talon
heart,
dance.
get attached. So I'ma do you first, you pay me back.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
It's great to line dance too. You know, you got the whole crew can line dance.
So I'ma do you first, you pay me back. You pay me
back.
You pay me back like that. Open up my heart, might get attached. Hard, I ain't giving no slurs. Hard your back, cause you like it like that. Work it hard, I ain't giving no slurs. Hard your back, cause you like it like that. Work it hard, I ain't giving no slurs.
It's definitely catchy. I'm loving it.
Hard, I ain't giving no slurs. Hard your back, cause you like it like that. Look, I'm hypnotized from the hips and thighs. She sent 30 texts and I can visualize. She need an alpha male, not the beta type. She got an instant scratch and I can lay the pipe. Look, it's overdue, I need you open too. We need an hour plus, I'm talking over two. Got a lot to show, I got a lot to prove. You got some to shake, got some hips to move. I'ma take it, birthday suit, a bucket naked. Break it, text me back, I'm in your favorite. Hate it, how you run, but I'ma chase it. Taste it, when it's your turn, you better face me back. Opposites attract, and that's a fact. We ain't gotta talk about this and that. No. Open up my heart, might get attached. So I'ma do you first, you pay me back. Opposites attract, and that's a fact. So I'ma do you first, you pay me back. You pay me back. You pay me back like that. Open up my heart, might get attached. I ain't giving no slurs.
Yeah, that's a really, really dope record, man. I love it
Thank
because
you.
it's just got a diverse, almost like international type sound. You know what I'm saying? And that's the goal, right? Is for it to go internationally. You know, it's bigger than, you know, you love your city, obviously, but it's bigger than that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just honestly the biggest thing about this record was the fact that it existed at all. Because a younger me would have been scared to make this joint.
Yeah.
A younger me would have been like, I can't make that. Like, I gotta prove myself to these group of people that I have in my head that I
Yeah.
think are my fans or a certain image. And now, but in real life, if you actually come out and kick it with me, I'm the first. That's me in real life. I'm out there
Yeah.
dancing. I'm out there vibing. So I think as especially as hip hop artists, like a lot of us be playing way too damn tough. A
Yes.
lot of us be going way over the top with the ego.
Yes.
And I think what's needed more is like people watching us no matter what we do.
Yeah.
Like let's lead them to something that's fun. Because again, I come from a crazy place. I don't need to play tough. You just go outside. You
Yeah.
want to see something tough, go outside. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I'd rather give people something they can vibe to. So there's of course my hard records on there, but this one was just like every time I come on, I want people to just feel good because I don't make a lot of dance music. With
Yeah.
a name like Psychosis, right? You know, you're gonna think it's probably more serious or hardcore. So this type of song, like I didn't intentionally try to make it be something. It was just this is what reminds me of home, and this is
Yeah.
what reminds me of the domino game, spades game, Uno game, drunk uncle with the crown roll bag and the fedora, talking about come here, let me talk to you, young blood. This is what reminds me of that, and that's what I tried to catch. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
you absolutely nailed it. It's a fun record. I mean, I could definitely see that being played at parties all around the world, not just in your area. So, and
Yes,
you know, everybody, the album is out. It's called Pre-Approved. It's been out for exactly a month. So make sure you guys
exactly a
go
month.
check that out.
Yes,
Follow him on all social platforms. Thank you, everybody who took the time to tune in tonight. If you guys missed any portion of this, it does stay permanently here on the Industry's Most Wanted YouTube channel. You can follow your girl at Tampa Mystic on all social platforms. Shout out to Psychosis checking in tonight, man. It was a pleasure to have you here.
man. Thank you. Please follow Tampa Mystic. She's super dope. Shout out to Industry Most Wanted for having me. I appreciate y'all, and I look to come back and be in studio with you soon.
100%. We out of here, you guys.